Good day guys, Osterday, and in this one today, I bring to you a genius invention. The 8Bitdo guys have made a mod kit for your favourite original retro game controllers. Easily modify your original wide set of controllers into a Bluetooth controller, making wireless compatibility with Windows, macOS, Raspberry Pi, Nintendo Switch and more, to bring your classic first party pads you already have into the modern age. Something I've never actually seen before. You can do this with a host of original pads, and each mod kit is designed to be as easy as possible to install. No soldering, no modifications to shells, simply remove your original PCB and replace it with the 8Bitdo Modkit, making your original wired controller Bluetooth with full rechargeable battery capabilities and LED indicators to show what mode your controller is in and its battery life. You know me, I love games, and having the ability to change an original first party pad into something that has got modern functionality, wireless, all these kind of features, I think that is awesome. So in this video, I'm going to set some of these puppies up, see how they perform, see what functions they do, and see how they actually are in real-time use. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So before we start getting into the nitty gritty of all this, I want to be completely transparent and say that 8Bitdo sent me these modification kits for completely free, which is absolutely awesome. The crazy thing is that I didn't actually know that they were coming. In fact, the first time I opened the box was the first time I knew these little kits existed. Now, nobody is paying me for this video, nobody is reviewing this video before I put it up, and my thoughts and opinions are completely my own. The only thing I've got is these kits for free. The kits themselves are supported on various different controllers, consisting of the original MEGADRIVE or Genesis controller. These are the 6-button variants. The original NES controller from the system that was released in the 80s. The NES Classic Edition controller from the system that was released in 2016 to 2018. The original Super Nintendo or Super Famicom controller that was again released in the 80s. And of course the Super Nintendo Classic Edition controllers released in 2016 and 2018. The little mini variants that you can buy on the shop shelves today. Compatibility wise, these controllers work with Windows 7 and above, Android 4.0 and above, Mac OS 10.7 and above, Steam, Switch and Raspberry Pi. Because these modifications can work on Bluetooth, as long as you've got a Bluetooth 4.0 compatible device, I think you should be good to go. I have tested them on all my devices that I can, and everything seems to be working tickety-boo, as we'll see in a bit. The only thing that I haven't tested it on is the Mac OS. I don't own an Apple Macintosh or any kind of variant of that, so I've got no way of testing that one. But I have tested all the others, and I'll give you my little findings in just a second. They are also compatible with the adapters that 8Bitdo sells. So if you want to play these on the actual NES Mini or the Super Nintendo Mini, the original NES console or the Super Nintendo original consoles, they are actually compatible with that also. But be aware that these little adapters aren't included in any of the kits, and you will have to purchase them separately. That's not a bad thing, because obviously they are pertinent to whatever console you want to set them up on. But as long as you got Bluetooth or any of the first set of consoles that I was talking about, you're pretty much good to go out the box. Only if you want to play them on the mini consoles or the original consoles. With the time of me making this video, these modifications coming in at the princely sum of $19.99 US, including everything that you need to get these little modifications up and running, transforming what is the original controllers from the official manufacturers into a modern day wireless controller, compatible with pretty much any device you can throw at it. So as a bit of a comedy effect, here is me actually carrying out this modification. The box itself is, well, everything that you need is actually inside it. It's a pretty standard cardboard box, nothing to talk about there. The packaging is bubble wrapped, and everything that you need to make the mod happen is included, including the nice little screwdriver, which I think is a nice touch. There is the charging and firmware update cable. We'll talk about that in just a second. And the board is contained within an anti-static bag, so there should be no issues there. There is instructions included. They're quite limited in actually performing the mod, but you will need them later on for making it configured to your consoles of choice. I'm going to be doing the mod on the Super Nintendo Mini Classic controller because I think this is the most fiddly out of the bunch, so it'd be a good idea to show you my experience of doing this. And all you need to do is take everything out, put it to one side, take your controller of choice, undo the back. I have sped this up because you don't want to watch me for 5 minutes trying to undo these fiddly screws, but make sure you keep them safe because you are going to have to replace the back in just a second. Now, once it is open, take care to remove the wire. It's crimped into the controller itself using a little bit of plastic, and also the bumper buttons. These are attached by a wire, but they do just unslot. Then leave the board to one side, keep it safe because you may want to replace it down the line. Then it's just a case of grabbing your new board, slotting it back exactly how the original board was. It's a pretty snug fit, so you should have no problems placing it in place. Make sure the shoulder buttons are there as it was before. There is a little plug on the top where the charging cable goes. It's also a light indicator, as we'll see in just a second. It is a little bit fiddly when you're putting it in. And also take care, these little screw holes here do get a bit close to the wires of the bumper buttons. Make sure that doesn't overlap the screws, or when you put the back on, you could cause damage to the wires. Other than that, it's pretty simple, but do take care because you do want to get this right. Now, when you have got it open, if it's one of the older consoles, one of the retro consoles, you've probably got 20 years worth of blood, sweat and tears in there. So while it is open, it's probably also a good idea to give it a good degunge, wash all the parts, get everything as clean as possible because, well, you may as well while it's open. And then once that's done, replace the back, put all the screws back into place, and you should be good to go, to be honest. Once it is all put together, test all the buttons, make sure everything's working. Mine still got a charge in there from the factory, so I did get a little blue flashing light on there. And that is it, to be honest. That is as simple as it gets. So once all that's done, it's probably a good idea to get this controller fully charged. There is the little wire that comes along with it, and I must stress little. It does just plug into a USB port. I believe it takes 1 to 2 hours according to the website to give it a full charge. I've used mine after the charge all day, although it states that they do last up to 7 hours. I've got no idea how long that is, but again, I have literally been using this for probably 7 hours and my controller is still rocking. I've done the modification to all 3 variants of my controllers. I've been given the NES Mini, I've been given the Super Nintendo Classic, and I've been given the Super Nintendo Original. I've modified all the controllers that I've got available, and they all are pretty as snug as they can get. The modification looks really good once it's done. The plug on the top not only is there to charge it, it also seals the hole where the wire was, and it's got a little light indicator on there which gives you information about what it's been hooked into, what kind of battery level it's got going on, so on and so forth. It's pretty well designed, I've got to give them credit on that. The only issue is, for me, the length of the cable. I know it's a wireless controller, so there's no issue there whatsoever, but at the end of the day, I would like to have a little bit more leeway, especially if I was going to plug this into the wall using a USB plug adapter. Now on to getting this puppy up and running on whatever device you want to throw it at. We've already gone over what devices it's compatible with, but when you do link it up for the first time, you may need to switch the mode which makes the magic happen. Now, there is information on this on the instruction sheet. It's basically when you turn it on, you just turn it on with a different button combination. That will enable a certain mode which will be compatible with certain devices. Again, more information on this on the information sheet. It's compatible with X input, direct input, Mac mode and switch mode. So depending on what device you're using, depends on how you turn it on for the first time. Of course, you can switch what mode you want to do and connect it to the different devices depending on how you want to play with this. But be aware that you will need to pair each device when you set it up for the first time. And then it's just a case of switching it on whenever you want it and it's good to go. In terms of compatibility, I've thrown near enough everything at this, both PC games, emulation, the minis, the little adapters that come with these consoles, and it's pretty much good to go. I have not had any issues whatsoever. The response time is pretty much spot on. In fact, I would kind of put this on par with my Xbox 360 controllers. Now, I haven't done any in-depth tests on this to do the response rate, but for me, just the feel of playing the ultra responsive games, I've had no issues with it whatsoever. So far, so good. Now, I believe in the past when 8BitDo have released their controllers, there has been firmware issues. In other words, there has been some lag on some consoles. So far for me, I've not experienced any of that. And in the past, they have updated that firmware and that's been rectified. Now, the way they've done this in the past is linking that USB port to a PC, literally just downloading the latest firmware, it flashes it onto the controller, and it's good to go. The latest firmware normally sorts out any issues, and they are pretty good with that kind of updates pretty regularly. If there's any issues, they normally sort it out as soon as possible. And with 8BitDo controllers, to this date, I've not had any issues. When playing games then, it's exactly like you was using the original controllers. Obviously now it's wireless, but again, I'm not noticing any lag that I wouldn't expect from using a normal wireless controller. I would say that this is pretty good to go. If I was going to make any bugbears about this controller at all, and this modification that's been done to it, it's the fact that that cable, the charging cable, it's just too short for me. I don't know what it is. I know you're not plugging it into a console. I know you're not going to be sat next to anything. It is merely there to charge the controller up, but I would like a little bit more leeway. Also, I would also say that the actual pin that's on the end of it, 3.5mm I believe, it's just a little bit flimsy for me. I've not experienced it being any loose or anything like that, but because it's specific to this controller modification, it's not something you can just replace from a shop shelf. So it would be nice if they made just that part available on their site to be able to purchase. That's just me trying to find issues with this so far. Up until now, other than that cable, everything else is pretty much spot on. The way it acts, the way it responds, the way it plays with the games is pretty much as I would expect from a wireless pad. And the modification itself is pretty much done in less than 3 minutes. It's awesome, the idea behind it all. I think it's absolute genius, and I would hope that they push this forward to other controllers, maybe even a Nintendo 64 version of it. Of course, that's just wishful thinking. The only other thing that I would say I'm not happy with is the fact that they didn't send me a MEGADRIVE one. I'm a huge Sega fanboy. I can't believe they didn't know that. Of course, I'm just happy that I've even got a chance to even play with something like this. I never thought it was possible. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's great that you're able to utilize the feel and the nostalgia of the exact controllers that are from the official manufacturers. For me, that's been the biggest issue when it comes to this scene. We have got loads of controllers out there with all kinds of functions and features that the modern generation brings us, but the one thing that they do is make third-party controllers. This way, we get to have first-party controllers, even the original controllers from back in the day. Your original console controller from your childhood, being able to use it again with modern functionality. Wireless controllers have never been this way. This is awesome news for the scene, and it's an awesome option for us to have. Of course, you have to go through 3 minutes of setting these puppies up, but then you have a lifetime of enjoyment bringing these old relics back into new. Of course, you can still do it on the modern classic controllers, but it's just great that we can have first party support with modern functionality. You get what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle on, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, comments, views, I'd love to hear your feedback on this idea. I think it's genuinely genius, and it's another option, another string to our bows for modern gaming. So please like, please subscribe, please do all the things that people do in this magical world of YouTube, especially when we get genius ideas like this. But most of all, you have a good day. Laters.